Welcome to the Published and Paid podcast, where we share book, business, leadership, and life lessons in 20 minutes or less to help you build a thought leadership brand and business. My name is Jasmine Womack. I'm a former middle school language arts teacher turned seven-figure entrepreneur, and I am glad that you are here. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Published and Paid podcast. I'm extremely excited about this particular episode because I love teaching experts how to make money from their book. And one of the main ways that I teach to do that is by helping experts to leverage their book into a course or some type of curriculum-based coaching program. This is how I started, and this is how I was able to grow and even scale my business. And I personally believe that this is one of the quickest ways to business success if you are willing to learn marketing and up-level your sales skills. A lot of authors want to write books and then immediately build a speaking career. And if you're already speaking, then writing a book is a no-brainer because you are just going to be able to monetize it in so many different ways. However, for people who are new to speaking and they are building their speaking careers from the ground up, getting paid to speak can take a longer time than getting paid to coach or consult someone for your expertise. And that's just my personal opinion. Some people may or may not agree with me. I also believe that you should have all three in your ecosystem: your book, your course, and also professional speaking. But for the purposes of today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how to leverage your book to create a course. Now, this is so beneficial because once you actually create a course or a coaching program, and yes, the two are different, once you are able to transform your book into a course or coaching program, then you have additional revenue streams. It's going to expand your audience. It's going to allow you to engage deeper with your community, and it's going to help you facilitate transformation for members of your community at such a deep level. One of the reasons why you should consider turning your book into a course or coaching program is because, number one, of learning styles, right? Like, reading is one learning style. I have to go back. I have to pull back into my teacher toolkit. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's linguistic, right? But for those who prefer auditory or visual learning, then this is where creating a course comes in. Also, of course, when someone is reading your book, they're hearing your voice in their minds. They're reading your words, but being able to also digest your content via a course or coaching program is going to allow them an opportunity to engage with you. It's going to allow them an opportunity to engage with your personality. It's going to allow them to build a deeper bond with you because now they're not only reading, now they can hear your voice, they can see you, they can actually take action. They may have supplementary materials with which they can take action on the things that you discuss in your book. And so when you create a course or a coaching program, then you provide the avenue for an interactive and for an immersive learning experience for those in your community. Also, you can create recurring revenue in your business. So whether people pay on monthly payment plans, whether you create some type of a membership community where people are paying on a monthly basis, you create the opportunity for recurring payments to come through your business simply because now you have provided another avenue for people to work with you on a deeper level. And you're teaching and talking about the same content that you teach in your book. Now, one of the things that I like to tell our clients in our Impact University programs is that your book will provide the entry level, right? But your course or coaching program provides the accountability. So, yes, you can talk about strategy. You can talk strategy and methods in your book, but the course, the coaching program is going to provide community, it's going to provide accountability, it's going to provide more step-by-step detail, deeper explanations, and depending on whether you've created a self-study course or some type of interactive coaching program, now they have the ability to get support and ask questions while they are doing it, right? So you want to give people the opportunity to work with you on a deeper level and to get those deeper levels of support and engagement. And that's what your course and your coaching program is for. So I want you to think about it for a moment. Like, this is why it's so critical for you to ensure that you are writing a book that is solution driven, right? That is focusing on helping your reader accomplish and obtain a specific outcome. If you're only writing a book to share your story and all of the book is about you and the things that you've gone through, then it can be quite challenging to turn that type of literature into a coaching program, which is providing someone an A to Z blueprint to get a specific result in their life, their career, their finances, or what have you. So you want to make sure that you evaluate your book's content. This is so important. This should not happen after you write the book. This should happen before you write the book, particularly during your planning process. When I was a language arts teacher, we used to call this the pre-writing, like the pre-writing before you write. This is the part where you are actually planning out what's going to be in each chapter, what you're going to write about, the stories that you're going to include, the strategies that you're going to include, how you're going to close the chapter. If you don't have some type of structure to the content in your book and you're just writing just to write and sharing whatever comes to mind, it's going to be difficult for you to make this transition from book to course. So you want to evaluate your book's content and you want to identify your core messages and key lessons of your book. So you can do this by determining which sections or chapters can be expanded into lessons or even modules. You'll have to determine whether or not you want to organize your course by chapter of your book, or if you want to create your course based on the framework that you teach in your book or the themes that you touch on. So, for example, in my book, Published and Paid, I have 9, it's a total of 10 chapters, but I have 9 chapters that can then be transformed into modules to make a 9-module course. You follow me? Or I could base a course on the framework that I teach in my book, Published and Paid. My framework is what Published and Paid was actually written on. Like, that's the framework that my book was based off of. And the Accelerated Authors Framework has 5 elements. Now, I could have a 5-part course focusing on the framework or just highlighting the most important parts of the process. This would be beneficial if I wanted to do like a mini course, or I could have a longer, more in-depth coaching program with 9 modules based on where each module is based off of a chapter in my book. Okay. So you want to evaluate your book's content. You want to identify your core messages and key lessons of your book, and you want to determine whether or not you are going to base your course on the chapters of your book, on your framework, or on the themes that you touch on in and throughout your book. Next, you want to make sure that you set clear, measurable learning outcomes for those who come through your course. You never want to create any type of learning material without identifying the outcome. And this is me digging into my curriculum and instruction background. Everything starts with the outcomes. What is the end goal? And once you determine what the end goal is for people who come through your course, then you have to backtrack and do a backwards planning design to determine what they need to learn and what you need to teach in order to help them to achieve that one outcome. This is where a lot of people who create courses begin to mess up because, and in the beginning of my online course creation journey, I made this mistake as well. And that's putting too much information into the course because you feel like if I'm going to charge X amount, I need to go over and beyond. Well, putting too much in a course actually will decrease the success rate of the people coming through your course. Because number one, it's too much information for them to go through. And number two, people tend to get shiny object syndrome. They won't go through it the way that they're supposed to. They'll jump around, which will then cause them confusion and not help them to get the results that you want them to have and that they want themselves to have. And number three, people tend to get overwhelmed. I believe that there's a breakdown in the online coaching industry because a course or a coaching program, this is educational material. And people tend to forget that there's an entire learning process that clients go through in order to get a transformation. So taking a course or even a coaching program is not just about enrolling. It's about the learning processes that these adults go through, taking in the information, right? In many cases, learning how to think differently about the topic that they're learning about. Then making the time to implement and execute and work through the challenges that arise when they implement and execute. Like, I believe that people have forgotten what it feels like to be in math class or what it feels like to be in science class, right? You might not get a concept. That doesn't mean that you quit. That means that what happens when you don't understand when you didn't understand a concept in math? You had to go to tutorial. You had to do extra problems. You had to work through it until you were able to figure it out so that you can pass the test or pass whatever exams you needed to pass so that you could pass the class and go to the next grade. Well, entrepreneurship is different. There's nobody grading you. There's nobody saying you can't go. There's nobody holding you back. You're going to hold yourself back. And instead of quote unquote being promoted to the next grade, you just won't see the results in your business that you want to because you're not putting in the work. So there's still a learning process that occurs when people take courses. And so when you are designing a course, you really have to design it with your learner in mind. And you can't design it from a place of lack or having a limiting belief or having the feeling that, oh, I'm charging this much, I need to throw the kitchen sink into no, you're going to mess up people's results by doing that. So back to my point is that you want to make sure that your course has one clear outcome and objective. And that's what you're focused on helping your client to do in your program. Okay. So you want to set clear, measurable learning outcomes. You need to be able to articulate what your clients will be able to do by the end of your course. You need to be able to articulate the outcome, and you need to have clear milestones. You need to be able to determine what success looks like. And by that, I mean, how will you know that they have achieved this outcome? And how will they know that they have achieved this outcome? This is so important. Okay. So after you defined your course objectives, now you want to create a course outline. So in the same method that you created an outline for your book, now you need to create an outline for your course. Depending on the type of course that you're structuring, and we talk about this in my program, the Published and Paid Academy, because different courses are structured differently. You might have many courses that have only lessons. You may have more in-depth coaching or consulting programs, which will be organized into modules and lessons, right? So you would have to determine what that looks like based on the outcome, the audience, so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you create a course outline and make sure that you create a flow so that each lesson builds on the previous lesson. I have structured compartmentalized programs for the online space before. And after years of taking people through the compartmentalized, where it's not necessarily in logical order, it's more so if you want to learn about sales, go to the sales section. If you want to learn about marketing, go to the marketing section. And what I realized for my audience is they prefer step by step in order, sequential. And so even right now, as I'm recording this, we are restructuring one of the programs where it's going to be the same content, but it's just going to be structured in a more sequential order to help our clients stay on track and help them get better results based on how they learn and based on the feedback that we've received. So I found that works best for our clients. So you want to make sure that you ensure a logical flow that builds on each previous lesson. And you can do this in a basic outline. Okay. Now, I have a free item for you, and I'll be sharing more about that at the end of this episode. And you can also find the link in the show notes. Matter of fact, you can actually visit jasminewomack.com/course outline to access the book to course toolkit. It's absolutely free. And this is going to help you to leverage your book to create a course and grow your online business. And this book to course toolkit contains an outline map that you can use to outline your course. Okay. Once you've designed your course and the structure, then you want to take some time to develop accompanying materials. So you want to determine the format of each lesson. Are your lessons going to be video? Are they going to be audio? Are they going to be written? Are you going to do an email course? What's going to be the extent of the interactive exercises? These are some of the things that you need to consider. All courses do not have to be video modules in a traditional course platform. There are courses that can be totally email courses. Someone purchases it and they get an email once a day for X amount of days. In that email, it's going to have information, it's going to have instructions, it's going to have examples. You might include a link to a video, and it will contain a link to some resources. So I want you to begin to think outside of the box about how a course has to look. Now, the most traditional is either an audio course or the type of course that has pre-recorded modules, which are great because then you can license those. All right. But I don't want you to think that your course has to have videos and modules and now you have to record all this stuff ahead of time. That's not necessarily true. One of my first large launches was a $50,000 launch before I created any type of course content. I pre-sold the course and I created the content as I was teaching it, and people were getting results. It was amazing. But that was because I was very clear on the outcomes. It was because I had a very detailed outline. And it was because I was very clear on what I was going to teach, and I came prepared. Now, if you can't show up and actually provide what you sold, then I don't suggest that method for you because that method does not work for everyone. It doesn't. Some people need to not pre-sell anything. You need to have everything created before you sell it. Because I've heard of people getting burned like this. They paid for something, didn't get it. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. I know me, and I know that it works for me because I have a skill set in curriculum and instruction. I know how to plan, and I'm a person of integrity. I'm going to give people a little bit more than what they asked for in the first place. But if you know that you don't have the follow through to do that, don't do it. Don't do it. All right. So you want to make sure that you determine the format for your lessons. You want to determine the format for your course, and you want to plan activities and assessments to reinforce learning. So this is where your worksheets come in. This is where the supplementary activities come in as well. So you need to make sure that you summarize it, that you document it first, and then create it. Okay. You also want to determine whether or not you're going to need videos, whether or not you're going to need slides or any other type of multimedia to enhance the engagement of your clients. Okay. Now, personally, at this point in time, I write scripts for my courses and I record it based off of the script. Anytime I'm speaking, anytime I'm doing any type of virtual workshop, even this particular podcast episode, I script it. I write out what I'm going to say. At the very least, I'm going to have an entire document full of bulleted points so that I understand that I'm able to keep myself on track and that the content is organized and thoughtful. Do not try to create a course and then teach off of the top of your head. You are going to come across unprepared. So, yes, this is something that you are going to have to put aside the time to do and do effectively if you want to do a great job and if you're serious about your clients getting results. This is not a product that you sell and then you show up halfway and then you teach off of the top of your head. For every lesson, for every module, you need to have a script. You need to know what you're going to say. You need to know what you're going to teach. And when you're teaching your content live, you want to make sure that you pull your chat, like you download your chat so that you can see the questions that people ask. Because I guarantee you, the more that you run your course, you're going to start seeing a pattern and you're going to see that people are going to typically ask the same questions over and over again. And so what you do with that information is then go and create filler content. So then you create content to address the questions that you already know that people are going to ask based on running your program several times. And then you go incorporate or enter those lessons strategically in your curriculum. So it's like, okay, if I know that they're going to ask me a question when they get to about X, Y, and Z, when they get to module 4, let me go ahead and put a part 2 to module 3 where I'm going over this so that by the time they get here, that question that I know that they're going to have when they get there has already been answered. I've done this in my programs. This is why I've had clients come to me and say, oh, I had some questions, but you literally addressed all of my questions in the content as I kept going. Okay. Now, last but not least, of course, you want a course platform. Now, if you are teaching your program live, you may not need a course platform. Like you can teach live via Zoom. And if you're just starting out and you don't have the budget and you're paying out of pocket and you don't have the budget for a course platform, I'm going to be honest. When I ran my very first program, at the time it was the Authors Boot Camp. It's now the Author Made Easy Boot Camp. I taught it live for 8 weeks and I took the recordings and put them in a Google Drive folder. And I added everyone who was in the class to that folder so they had access to the recordings. I did that for at least a year before I invested anything into Kajabi because what I needed the business to pay for the platform. What I see today is a lot of people paying for a lot of things that they don't necessarily need, and your business is not bringing in the cash flow to cover that just yet. If your business is bringing in the cash flow, then you likely already have a course hosting platform. But even with that, I know I have some acquaintances who have $30,000 programs, but they have no curriculum. They just get up and teach. And so when I start talking to them about structuring their content and putting it in a documented process. They look at me like they have stars. They're looking at stars. Like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, because you can only teach it live for so long. Like, what happens if you get sick? What happens if something happens to you? What happens if you need to take a bereavement leave? Your client should still be served. So that means that you need to either have someone on your team trained and versed in the content and curriculum and who can deliver it as effectively as you, or you need to have a way in which your clients can digest the information without necessarily counting on you to have to deliver it live. If income is an issue, like if you're in the beginning stages of this thing and you are trying to keep your expenses low, then you want to teach live and then store your recordings in Google Drive, Dropbox, or some type of cloud storage that you can share. Okay. Once you're ready, you can then invest into some type of popular course platform. I particularly use Kajabi. I've used Kajabi at the time of this recording, probably about 8 years. But there's also Teachable. There's Thinkific. I started out with Thinkific before I went over to Kajabi. I transitioned from Thinkific to Kajabi because at that point in time, my business was growing and I needed an all-in-one solution. I was tired of using one platform for emails, using a different platform for landing pages, using a different platform for courses, using a different platform for payments. I was just tired of all of that. And so I transitioned over to Kajabi at the time. No, they were the only all-in-one course platform, but now they've evolved to so much more. Like even my podcast is hosted on Kajabi. Kajabi hosts my courses. I send all my emails through Kajabi, all my landing pages, payments, everything is through Kajabi. Now, you want to make sure that you select the right platform for your needs. Now, I know that I shared a lot in this particular episode. Definitely make sure that you go back through and listen to this again, because this is kind of like a mini masterclass in itself. But I want you to understand that what I've shared with you here is the beginning of your journey, right? Because you can create a course, but marketing the course and selling the course, launching the course and selling the course, that requires a different skill set and a different process than creating the course. And oftentimes people like to be in the creation mode because it makes you feel productive, but you're not actually making transformation unless you are selling your program and facilitating clients through the program itself. So I created a resource for you to help you map out and structure your course outline based on your book. So this is particularly for those of you all who may already have a book and now you're ready to actually start monetizing. But if you don't have your book yet, and this is something that you're interested in doing, then you can definitely download this toolkit because it can give you a glimpse of what's to come. So you want to visit www.jasminewomack.com. It's Jasmine spelled the regular way, like the flower, JasmineWomack.com/course outline to download a resource to help you map and structure your course outline. This is called the Book to Course Toolkit, that is going to help you leverage your book to create your course and grow your online business. And if you're ready to take action on this and go deeper in person, then you want to make sure that you secure your seat at Published and Paid Live. This is where you're going to come to learn how to write and publish your book, write and publish your coaching program, write and publish your signature speech, write and create and publish your offers. And you will learn how you can transform your $1 million message into a best-selling book and high-ticket course or coaching program. Our 2024 event is our final Published and Paid Live. Guys, I got to finish my doctorate and some other things. So you want to make sure that you are in the room. All right. And so if you're ready to go deeper in person, you can and secure your seat at Published and Paid Live. You can visit www www.publishedandpaidlive.com to secure your seat. All of the links are in the show notes, and I look forward to hearing all about your success. Until next time, peace, love, and impact.